let's take a look at these two works. Now, in terms of whether color is being used expressively or descriptively, you could certainly say this is expressive because you wouldn't normally see these colors on a person. Now, descriptively, this is probably fairly accurate for a scene at night or in a dark movie theater, so just having an achromatic color scheme with black and white and tints or in tones of gray. So achromatic, I guess you could say this would be a descriptive use of color. Now, in terms of which color schemes are being used, I would say this is more achromatic because it's black and white and gray. There is a little bit of cyan blue in here. Okay, there's kind of a range of cyan blue. It would be a stretch to call this analogous, even though you're using colors that are adjacent, kind of all colors in here. They're not really cyan blue. It's more just gray, and so this calling this achromatic would be a better label than analogous for this. Now, it's certainly because there is kind of a hint of blue, it does make it cool in terms of temperature. And this is using warm colors over here and here, but these colors here are more like, in this area, a cyan green, and so this is using some cool colors. So it's using some temperature contrast in order to create the effect over here. Now, in terms of which color scheme, so here we have a yellow and magenta, red magenta. So you have yellow and red magenta and red and a blue cyan, and so it's really all over the place. You have too many colors for a triad. Even if you were using the traditional color wheel, you have red and yellow, and then magenta would need to be in here, and then you have that blue cyan. So in either color wheel, there's really just too many colors. For a triad, you need 3 colors that are equidistant on the color wheel. For example, like cyan and yellow and magenta. Now let's look at this in terms of value. Certainly there is great contrast in value between being very light, kind of medium gray, to being black. And so this is really a study in value contrast. Does a great job with that. Now over here there are some light areas. This is still a tone. This is still a tone, and then some dark areas. And so it's definitely using value contrast to create some molding and volume in the hair. Now in saturation, there's certainly a lot of saturation in these colors, and that this is less saturated. You see all the gray mixed in with it. This is certainly a light tone, but it still has lots of gray mixed in it. This color is a tone. It still has some gray mixed in it, but it's relatively saturated. Now here, this is a shade, so it has some black mixed in it, and so even that one has some black mixed in it. And so it's usually mostly tones, but it is certainly a good contrast in terms of saturation.